Hello everybody, JD here, back again with another Nubby's Number Factory video. And I want to make a video on a new max build. Well, not really a new max build, basically the probably the most effective max build that you can get now that the asbestos changes have hit. We're playing on the criminal Tony here, the one that lets you get black market items in the shop, and that makes today's build pretty simple because it's all corrupted items, so none of these perks that I have matter. They'll just work off of themselves. And this one uses the power of the Fly Agaric, which is one of the few that still multiplies point totals. You've got 1.4 times here, 1.4 times here, so you get a lot of just exponential growth. And in order to facilitate that, I've got 3 copies of Clayman Guy. Not necessary, makes it really easy to get there up there pretty fast. We've also got King Baby to make the lowest peg become the highest peg every 1.5 seconds. And that's important because this is a build where you kind of just want to keep the ball in play for as long as possible. Nubby in play as long as possible. Got a pregnancy test here as well because that kind of helps out there. Whenever you shoot Nubby, you get a second one, you get King Baby, so you're not going to be breaking pegs as quickly. Nubby's going to be getting stuck in large number of pegs. You're going to be keeping it going for quite a while. And this is one of the ways to get to a Google now. Now, it's not just that easy if you just apply these from round 1. It's not going to be super easy. At round 100 with a similar build to this, you're going to need Nubby to be active for about 40 seconds in the game in order to be able to hit Google. Here at round 200, our starting positions are a little faster. It's going to take about 15 seconds. As you can see, I have a bunch of jumbles because one of the things that you want to do is just make sure that you have a nice little lineup that's going to facilitate Nubby not just bouncing out and dying really quickly. This one looks like an okay one, so let's just go ahead and send it here. So Nubby, one of the Nubbies died here. That's one of the risks. And cool. Almost to a Google. We only had Nubby going for a couple seconds there. That just kind of shows why this is so good. Again, the perks don't matter because none of the force triggers that you're going to get are going to do anything. Let's just check this one right here. See, here we go. Nubby is getting a bunch of hits, and I mean, we're already way high up there, and we're Vigintillions. Vigintillions, Quint Vigintillions. So at around 9 seconds of gameplay, you're going to get, 10 to 15 orders of magnitude below Google. So let's try, let's just try this one. Again, Nubby wants to be in as long as possible so that the Clayman guys can proc as many times as possible, so that the Fly Agarics can proc as many times as possible. I think having 2 Clayman guys is probably optimal because you're going from 2 clay prisms to 4 clay prisms to 6 clay prisms, whereas if you cut this guy, you're going to be able to get extra multipliers, so the exponential value is going to go faster. I haven't been able to find that many, is the only thing. So, notably, when you're trying to reach this build, stuff like the pregnancy test and the King Baby are not as useful earlier. Asbestos, I was using the classic Happy Seal tardigrade method to jack up my pegs as much as possible and get points to meet the round goal. Obviously, that's the important thing. You can't win if you don't hit the round goal. Because this build relies on you just having Nubby active for as long as possible, sometimes you will get those rounds where your bounce just doesn't go your way and you die really quickly. So it's important to keep that in mind and adjust that as you progress. Right now, the reason that I'm using King Baby and not something that's going to double pegs all the way up to a decillion is that for the most part, these pegs are going to be high enough, especially at this point, where you're not going to need them to be you're not going to need the pegs to increase really at all. Now, occasionally you get this 8 in here that's most likely going to die, but the longer we go, the 256 quadrillion or quintillion or whatever it is going to start proccing on the ones that it's hitting. So before your Nubby that gets stuck in a peg breaks it, it's going to get jacked all the way back up. At this rate, yeah. So here we go. At 16, 17 seconds, we're already at a Google. Now this can go for as long as possible. This is not an infinite build. That's kind of the one downside of the way that this build stacks up. At some point, Nubby is just going to escape. There's enough random chance that Nubby is eventually just going to die. But as you can see, the Fly Agarics just keep proccing. We hit a Google pretty quickly. So, yeah, I mean, you hit max build. That's kind of what we're trying to do. I did find out one other cool thing as part of doing this, which is that the Nubby's timer here on the left side that tells you how long Nubby has been alive this round actually resets after 60 seconds. So if you do manage to hit a full minute of Nubby being alive, which I have not really been able to show here, but when he gets stuck in a ball and just takes forever to go through it, let's see if we can get one of those here. Ooh, that's unfortunate. We got this peg right here that died, which means there's going to be a lot of bouncing. Okay, actually, hold on. We got Nubby stuck in here. Maybe we can get some more stuck pegs. But anyways, when that happens, Nubby can end up staying there for a pretty long time. You might actually be able to get to 60 seconds. And you can see here, if you look really closely through the numbers, it can be kind of hard to determine, but you can see Nubby getting stuck and just moving very, very, very slowly through these pegs. That happens a lot when you have really high peg numbers and nothing's changing. You know, the pegs aren't being popped down to 0. They're not being increased a bunch. Actually, if they are being increased, then it's just kind of the same thing. But as you can see, with the logic of the game, it kind of hits a peg and then just slows down really by a lot. And restock times 10,000. Here is where I would start like looking for more king babies and pregnancy tests and just stuff like that, just to make it a little easier to actually have Nubby hit 60 seconds. Again, perks don't matter in this one because nothing matters. That's not true. One of the things to keep in mind with this strategy, and really any strategy where you're trying to keep Nubby alive as long as possible, is that you really want to make sure that Nubby's momentum is as low as possible in order to maintain those pegs where he hits it and then just really go slowly through. So this can be a little difficult to do. You want to hit generally as soon as possible and as straight on as possible for the pegs. Obviously not always possible to control. There's a lot of RNG in here. But when you hit just dead on and then you get a little bounce here, that's really good, because if Nubby just gets a little bounce and then just goes into this and gets stuck, then Nubby will move really slowly through it. You're going to be able to get a lot of time spent in the round. Whereas if you kind of go off of a more oblique angle, kind of hit like right on the side here, you'll get a fast bounce. Nubby will pick up some momentum. It'll make it easier for Nubby to squeeze through these gaps. It'll make it easier for Nubby to shoot off to the side and then just die. So when you're shooting down, yep, you want these little bounces that this Nubby is getting right here. And Nubby gets stuck for a little bit, little bounces. It generally helps create less momentum when Nubby exits these pegs that he's going through as well. Not always, but again, on the whole, it's easier to have Nubby survive for a longer time when you're making sure that everything's got relatively low momentum. So we've got this one here. Let's see it go. Nubby's obviously moving really slowly here. We're getting multiple triggers on the with King Baby, so King Baby is making this one take forever. You can actually kind of see that Nubby came in a little bit, and then just because this peg is not disappearing like it was supposed to, Nubby's kind of actually made like a little U-turn, which is great, because this again helps lower the momentum a lot. We're already at about 30 seconds, and if Nubby can, you know, enter this peg and start slowly moving through it, then, you know, we could be in for a really long one. This is probably the worst one for him to go to, because he breaks through this. Yeah, he hits that one, and just goes wacky. Generally, you might get a redirection left to right, but you're not going to get a redirection up to down. Just kind of how the game goes. I'll see if I can do a round where we hit 60 seconds for you. Excellent. All right, we just hit the store and we got a King Baby Plus, which is going to make King Baby hit 2 pegs every 1.5 seconds. So that's going to help the consistency of this this area. This one isn't fantastic, but maybe Nubby will stay in. Ugh. You kind of got to look at the geometry of these rounds when seeing whether or not you're going to get a 60-second run. Because Nubby only needs to break one of these 3, it's probably not likely. But maybe Nubby gets stuck here, maybe gets stuck somewhere else as well. Let's see if we get that 60-second round going. Also, of course, note that we are already at a Google. Like I said, at rounds 200, you're going to need about 15 seconds with 2 fly agarics. Again, you're going to get to a Google faster if you swap out this 3rd Clayman guy with another fly agaric. I'm not sure that you would get it faster if you swapped out 2 Clayman guys. 2 Clayman guys is twice the amount of clay prisms, which is also squaring the amount of clay prisms, just because 2 to 4 is the same multiplied as it is exponentiated. But we're not running the most optimal build ever, because I don't feel like going to round 900 and breaking the game. Hey, look at that. Actually, we did that. Sweet. We got this round. As it turns out, Nubby took long enough to go through these that we reset from 60 seconds back to 10 seconds. It doesn't do anything. I don't think it gives you any additional score bonuses at the end of the round. We can see in just a second when Nubby drops out and our Google, goes, I don't know. We're at max. We're at max score. Who knows how high this is actually going in terms of the actual numbers. Maybe it's going to a centillion. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Somebody can do the math on this. I don't feel like doing that because I don't have access to the game logic to do that accurately. Okay. Probably took another 60 seconds of triggering, but no score bonus, nothing like that. We just get the satisfaction of a job well done. So, yeah, if you want to get to the max score, this is probably the most direct way to do it. There are probably other ways, but now if you want to do the criminal Tony and get the fly agaric, that's going to be probably your best bet. So this is what it looks like. This is how it looks in practice. Go get them. Make me proud. Go hit lots of Nubby's numbers factories. And let me know how you have been approaching getting max scores now that the asbestos nerf has come in. All right, thanks everybody for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.